Welcome back to Worth the Effort Woodworking. I'm a big advocate of the idea that knowledge transfers. Something where you learn someplace, you're going to be using all over the place. And that's why I think woodworking is so cool, is because you can transfer it to all different aspects of life. But even within our own little niche, it does transfer quite a bit. For example, sawing techniques. I mean, it all comes down to understanding grain and how the blades interact with that grain. So what you do with something like a handsaw will translate to something that's radically different as a chainsaw. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So one of the foundation skills all of us woodworkers need to be able to master is being able to cut a straight and plumb line. For example, if you need a shoulder for a tendon or stuff like that, it has to be plumb, it has to be straight so you get a nice good fit on it. And the skills for doing that is not that hard. It's just simple techniques you learn over time with just a little bit of practice. But the key is to understand that you're a human. We are not very good at doing multiple things at the same time. I basically have two lines right here. In order to saw something straight and plumb, I now have to follow both those lines at the same time. Yes, there are some people that have the magical ability to come up to a board and just saw straight down. Boom, like that. Most of us aren't like that. So what we end up doing is just following one line at a time. You come over, you line your saw up, you get it going, you nibble to get it started. Maybe draw it back to get it started, get it nibbling. Then you use your finger to follow that line across the top. That establishes your cut. What it also does is it creates a path of least resistance. Most saw plates want to follow that path of least resistance. So once I have that line established, I can now focus on this line coming down the front. So I just come over and just keep on that line. I stay in the curve over here, and now all I'm doing is watching that line going down. Coming down to saw it, and once I get down to that baseline, I can just right the saw up, and once again, it will want to follow the path of least resistance. I just moved my bench, and I haven't put the little leveling feet back on it. And there you go. A nice straight plumb cut. It was a learned technique that I can only follow one line at a time. And this is the same thing when I'm cutting dovetails. I will start on either one side or the other. And being able to start on either side gives you a little bit of a buffer, because if you get slightly off, there's no reason you can't reset it on the other side and bring it forward. And then once I do that one, I focus on following all the way down, creates that nice path of least resistance, and then you can just write it up. It's an easy way to get very accurate cuts. Now, a chainsaw really is just a handsaw with a power head on it. You're still working with blades, and they are still interacting with the edges, and you still operate in the same manner. Just saw one line at a time, because it's a lot easier that way. The idea is to create, once again, a path of least resistance. Now, I have a boat art tree right here, and I've got to make a whole bunch of these 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 blanks right there. So it is kind of important to get nice straight sides so I can put it on the bandsaw and do it out. And yes, I am making a bunch more of these little mallets. Don't rush out to my store right away, because it's probably going to be 6 months to a year before they're ready to rock and roll. It just takes a long time to dry them. So the idea is, I'm going to use my chainsaw exactly like my handsaw. I'm going to start on one edge, saw across the top to create a path of least resistance. Then I'm going to come down the face following on that line. And I won't go all the way down with this one. I'll kind of come down a little bit, rock it up, come down, rock it up. But the idea is exactly the same. You're transferring that knowledge from hand tools to radical power tools when your goal is to get a straight line. And there you go. A nice smooth face. You can put a face plate on it. You can put it through a bandsaw, whatever. It gives you a nice surface reference. It's all practicing the same skills I use with a hand tool. And this kind of comes back to a theory I had a long time ago about studying ESL students. Now, I'll put a link down in the article down below. But if you dive deep into one aspect of your hobby, such as hand tool woodworking, you will get better at all other aspects because the knowledge transfers. But if you're hopping from one to the other to the one to the other, it seems like you're always repeating learning the basics. Learn the basics one way, you don't have to learn it on the other. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, like, favorite, subscribe, do all those social medias, tell your friends, and I want you to remember one last thing, that it is always worth the effort to learn, create a mess, and share it with others. Y'all be safe and have fun. So for today's bonus, I want to talk about Mike Dunbar. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, just go down below, follow his link. I think it is unfathomable that this gentleman only has 1,000 subscribers at the time I'm recording this. He is one of the premier Windsor chair makers in this country. And more importantly, he is an educator of Windsor chair making. He's written a lot of books on the subject, many more magazine articles. He runs a Windsor Institute which taught people how to make these chairs. He has shut it down. I think time is just kind of marching on. But he's taking the initiative and he's building a bunch of his classic chairs on YouTube channels. And he's breaking them down into little bite-sized nuggets, little 18, 20-minute sections on how to build some of his classic chairs. It is so worth your time to watch them. Granted, this isn't going to be a, slash cut, lots of graphics kind of presentation. This is just a gentleman with a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience educating people, giving you his best effort on how to make a chair. And he does it with very common tools you would probably already have in your shop. Go down below, look for it, click the link and join. You'll thank me for it.